Hello and welcome to Life Update email number 84. After many months of service, your beloved host, Jake, has stepped down from his role and passed the crown to me. So you are now stuck with me. You're welcome. Alrighty, let's get started. See, as I was driving back from the dentist, I stopped at a light and the car behind me flashed at me. That's when I realized three fundamental things at the exact same time. Sung to the tune of Hamilton. It's imperative it is sung. I worked too hard on this for it not to be sung. Alex, you're very mean, and please nobody judge me for what is about to occur. All right, let's get this over with. Number 1, I'm a man in a world in which I happen to live in a strange niche. My EQ is garbage, so I'm the one who has the social smile for one. So I'm the oldest and the wittiest, and the fallout in this friend group is insidious, and those two may not be penniless. That doesn't mean they deserve my smile any less. Number 2, they're behind me because of this traffic light that requires me to turn. I'd have to be naive to set that aside. Maybe that is why I begin to roll down my window to see their eyes. Nice going, Alex, your tooth collides. Yeah, that's right, you will never be satisfied. Number 3, I know my front tooth like I know my own mind. You will never find a tooth as devoted to the grind. If I just noticed the window, I'd be silently resigned. I'd be fine, my tooth would be fine, but it's dying. Now when I fantasize at night, it's my pristine tooth shine, as I romanticize what might have been if I hadn't prized the smile so quickly. At least my tooth didn't break from strife. At least I keep my teeth in my life. All right, that's over with. Let's never talk about that again, please, and thank you. Yep, I chipped my tooth on my car window, and I made it into a Hamilton song. That's all I have to say about that, XD. After finishing the last life update, another day began. I attended IVC art, in which I read, who would have thunk? Then once I got home, I ate food while playing chess with Ben. See, Ben has been on this chess.com kick as of late. Apparently, now that I'm not around him as much, he's not constantly living in my shadow. He feels more free to stretch his intellectual wings, which, lol, is fair. It's not much fun to do something when you always lose, XD. Hence, he has begun playing chess, and so that's been fun. I'm still leagues better than him, but he asked me to play nevertheless, so we did a few queenless games, 1 at home and then 2 after that at Alley Cat. I ended up winning all 3, but he gave me a run for my money on the last one. Was probably going to lose, but then I got a whack checkmate. Anyway, it was fun. Cool to see that new side of Ben, too. After chess with the bro, I pumped iron, did pills, and then called with the one and only Varley before going to sleep. Church was my destiny the next morning. I fulfilled it. I then played Magic with Joe against my new Cranko deck. Hee hee, I love that deck. Then went from there to Noah's house, where Liam, Noah, Alan, and I hung out for a number of hours. We played Mario Party, which can be surprisingly enjoyable despite its simplicity, and then played a few rounds of Splendor. From there, I went straight to karaoke at Southgate with the young adults group, which was honestly fantastic. It took me a hot sec to get into it, but I was comfortable and emotionally expressive. I actually had such a good time. See, I actually take no pictures in my life, so I have no documentation of this, which is a touch sad. All I have is incriminating videos Nessa took, so lol, let's pass on sharing those, XD. Anybody who wants those videos, contact me. But yeah, honestly, super enjoyed it. Karina came out of her shell and was super sassy. Nessa turns out to have a goddess voice. Noah was Noah. It was great. XD. Genuinely 8 out of 10 experience. Once I got home, I just took pills and crashed since I had been gone all day. The next morning, I went on a run, did some Fuaname, read some, and then I did something unique. Namely, met with Corey. We originally planned to go on a walk, but then it was mega cold, hence we relocated to Alley Cat. And after talking for like 30 minutes, I had all the confirmation I needed, and started her telling her what it meant for her to be an ENFJ. I swear, it's like I have a sixth sense for ENFJs, and like only ENFJs. XD. No other type do I just get this vibe about, but seriously, it's crazy accurate. Like, I was confident Corey was an ENFJ from like first conversation, and just watching her in dance class, like I didn't even have to ask her questions. So yeah, the meetup was mostly to see if my spidey sense was accurate, but it also functioned as a chance to make a new friend, because lol, I love ENFJs. The trouble is she's moving, looks at non-existent watch, like now. So I don't know if we'll actually become good friends given that circumstance, but she said she enjoyed me so much that she would hit me up when she comes back to town to visit. So yeah, maybe I found a new friend through that adventure. And if so, that would be quite exciting. So yeah, it was a good conversation. I apparently blew Corey's mind with what I knew about her. Hee hee, a typical reaction. And then attended Monday night, did Brawl and Magic as per the usual, read some, and then slept. The next day was IVC, and Nessa joined me for this round, and we talked for ages. Big good conversation. I also ended up going past closing time because, lol, I forgot New Year's was a holiday, but they were gracious enough to let me finish. As soon as I finished, I stuffed my face with Chipotle before driving to the Myers New Year party. At said party, I socialized with persons outside my typical socializing sphere, played some board games, some table tennis, and also a touch of Smash Bros with Josiah. But the stupid Joy-Con was dumb, and I kept taking screenshots instead of attacking XD, so lol, I lost, but I blame the Joy-Con. Once I got home, my computer was dead, so I thought I was going to have to buy a new computer, which is a tad stressful given my finances, but in the morning it worked again, so yay! The day I woke up to Emerson being like, yo, you want to hang? To which I was like, big yes. But then she took an hour getting to my house, so I kept doing trivial things until she arrived, because I was like, oh, she's going to be here any minute, so best not start that. Lol, never underestimate the power of NE to not be on time, XD. But yes, when she finally got here, we had a grand old time. We went on a good canyon drive, got Panera, and watched an anime movie, and then worked on our respective projects. I got my cancer vials done, and then we both went to Alley Cat to read our respective books, and it was great. At this point, Nessa joined us for a little, and then the three of us worked out at Raintree, and then we chilled for a bit on the couch and called it a day. I've got to say, it was the first serious one-on-one time I'd spent with Emerson, and honestly enjoyed it way more than I anticipated. It was a great balance of being productive and goofing off. I felt super comfortable around her, and it was just really chill. Not a lot of people know how to spend time with other people one-on-one, especially people of the other gender. But she was actually so great, and I would hang out again any day. I deeply enjoyed that time. So yeah, after spending most of the day with Emerson, I took my pills and then slept. The next day, IVC was canceled for some reason that I can't remember, and that bears no relevance to your life or mine. So yes, I know, most things I read about these emails might be lumped into that classification, but this was extra super irrelevant, and hence its designation as such warrants my excluding the detail from the email. And yet, upon reflection, this whole rant about the classification of extra super irrelevant would seem to be in itself be extra super irrelevant, which, if we were to apply to an equal standard, would then warrant it being excluded from the email as well. Yet, if we did such, the standard would not exist, and thus this paragraph would not warrant exclusion. After all, hence we find ourselves in a classic self-referentially incoherent paradox, which, interestingly, seems to occur just about whenever a system is self-referential in general. Sets theory, layer paradox, sinking Godel's incompleteness theorem. Oh gosh, Alex, you talk a lot. All right, let's go deeper into this tangential rabbit hole because I hate Godel's incompleteness theorem. Everyone says it is about the mathematical certainty that you cannot prove that a system of axioms is constant according to the axioms of the system. But lol, that's only if you allow self-referential statements into your system. Are you an idiot? Self-referential statements are obviously whack. We already know this. Like, how did Russell fix his set paradox theory? And by the way, sets can't self-refer. Like, that's literally all he did. And then everyone was like, people look at each other and shrug. Yeah, okay, that seems fair enough. Why are we all so big dumb? Can't we see that there's something wrong with self-referential statements a priori? And consistently, of course, if we allow them into any system, they will break it. So no, it's not all that systems can be mathematically demonstrated to be incomplete. Rather, the takeaway is don't stick self-referential prepositions into your system. Puff smoke out of his nostrils. Oddly, I feel better now. I swear, if all of us used our brains for once, philosophy would be much more interesting discipline. You know, I once heard a quote that said, philosophy is cool because it's the only major where you can leave school knowing fewer things than when you started. And actually, so fair, XD. Anyway, where were we? What was I talking about? Scrolls back up. Yes, self-defeating propositions. Well, good talk. That's all I have to say about that, XD. So, moving on, IVC was canceled for whatever reason. We won't get into that, XD. But then I did some vial making before Jack, Emerson, Katie, and I hung out. It was honestly pretty bad as hangouts go, 3 out of 10. I then got home, finished my vials, read some, before meeting up with Caleb Christian again, after an age. That was good. We got food at this place he knew that was quite tasty, and we had an historic conversation about narratives that honestly, while still feeling a bit fuzzy, was genuinely quite interesting. As that wrapped up, we had We had planned to play racquetball, but Caleb's friends were playing some basketball, and he was like, yo, want to join? To which I was like, sure, why not? Hence, I joined basketball. Super sucked, but they were gracious about it, and I still had an okay time. And then I called it a night. I just read a bit before going to sleep. The next morning, I finished the workout book I was currently on. I then, worked out. When I got back from that, I read some more, did FlowTube with Dad, then reconnected with Neo and played some Magic over at his house, where I was genuinely disturbed by his baby's existence. Babies weird me out. After some good games, I went back home, read some, and then slept. And then the cycle begins afresh. IVC plus Artie, which took absolutely ages as usual. Almost finished next exercise book in that 8-hour time span. Talked with Karina for a bit. 'Twas good. Discovered slick driving conditions, the first in the year. Hence, I determined it was time to get back to my oldest frenemy, drifting. We met up at the Myers and ended up eating there before Karina, Noah, Seth, Nessa, and I piled into the Phoenix and drove to the Front Range parking lot, where I gave them all their first drifting experience. Man, it has been ages, and I was very unskilled, but thankfully, newbies can't tell, so hee. I think they all thought it was great. I really do love drifting, and it's kind of the Phoenix's legacy. So yeah, I did that, drove home, 'twas big fun, and then I don't know what came over me, but instead of min-maxing my time, I was just like, hey, you guys want to play a game of Wingspan? To which Noah, Karina, and Lily were like, yeah. And so we did that. I actually enjoyed myself quite a bit and didn't mind that it wasn't optimal. It was weird, but also kind of nice. Once I got home, I did FlowTube, read, and then went to sleep. I awoke the next morning to find myself summoned to the cathedral, aka church. Played some Magic thereafter, then hung out with Emerson and Jack, and that was frankly just the worst. Negative fun. We tried to do something interesting, but each attempt flopped, and I regretted my life choices. But still, it was a good effort. I then sent out my last life update email and was surprised to find Anessa had narrated it. Jake sent me the audio and said I couldn't listen to it before I sent it out, so hesitantly I agreed. But she did such a good job. If you haven't listened to the Nessa audio version already, you should, because Nessa's recorded voice is peak. I don't know why some people's voice just sounds better, but they definitely do. Emerson's voice is also one of those. Very good recorded. Hee. In contrast, Katie just sounds like a stoner recorded, but honestly enjoyable. XD. Anyway, I listened to that, was pleasantly surprised, then listened to a number of old life update emails, finished whatever book I was reading, journaled some, took my pills, and then slept. The next morning, I tried yoga for the first time, and that was going to be this life update intro, but then I wrote Tooth Hamilton, and it got supplanted. So here's a bonus intro for you. XD. Your view is in third person, gazing down from a heavenly place as you watch me gather a mat, a bolster, and some blocks. I make my way to the center of the room, calmly unroll my mat, and then sit in a butterfly pose. With tall, elegant spine, I close my eyes. Inner tranquility. Though any reasonable onlooker might assume my eyes are closed to maintain focus and mindfulness, in reality they are closed because I am trying very hard to ignore the fact that this room is filled with exclusively middle-aged women. But that's okay, because in yoga, none of that matters. I am one with my body. We are one with another. I put my hands together in prayer hands fashion and whisper to myself, I am one with the soccer moms. Not a moment later, the instructor's soothing voice radiates through the room. Good evening, everyone. I love you all. Please find your mats and sit in whatever way feels most comfortable. I release the tension in my shoulders and try to relax my facial muscles. Inner tranquility. After a few moments, vibey music begins to play softly in the background and the lights dim. All right. I'm so proud of you for all being here today. We're going to start off with a simple child's pose. The instructor enters into a child pose and we all follow, and her soothing voice continues. So often we get distracted by life, but I want you to take this time to really get in touch with yourself. How does your body feel? Are you holding tension anywhere? In your shoulders? In your back? The instructor switches to a cow pose, and I try to ignore how stupid I feel, and instead just tune into my body. So often our chakras can become blocked by everyday life. I want you to just feel the energy of the universe moving through you, through your toes, through your hips. She enters a cat pose, and me and 39 middle-aged women follow. Let your emotions flow through you. You know, as we get older, our joints lose mobility they once had. I know we've all felt it. Our insides become less moist. Oh gosh. That comment throws me out of my meditative state, and I think, wait, what did she just say? But the instructor continues on, unabated. I don't know how else to say it. She switches to a different pose and continues. But moving like this, letting the energy flow through us, it changes everything. Relax your facial muscles, relax your neck. Now, at your own pace, just breathe as we hold this. The room sounds with gentle collective inhale through the nose as we all breathe in unison. Inner. A series of violent exhales erupt with the force of a powerlifter completing his last set. I blink twice. Good, good. The instructor changes the pose to the opposite side of the body. Don't be afraid to let the tension out. Once again, the collective breathes a deep, soft inhale before exploding into what I can only call an analogous to a collective birth breathing. I try to maintain my focus, but am beginning to struggle. Come on, Alex. Inner tranquility, I think to myself. We shift our position once again, and the instructor keeps talking. Take time to pay attention to your feet, your toes. How do they feel? Do they feel loved? Are they seen? Are they known? Remind your feet of how much you love them. Maybe give them a massage. Give your toes a little wiggle. Take time to really see them. Check in with your feet. Ask them how they're doing. I frown and look down at my toes. No, I do not, in fact, tell my toes how much I love them. A few moments pass and the instructors continue. Now, I want you to roll back into happy baby. I spent the next hour breathing rhythmically, hearing weird facts about the human body, striking poses I never thought I would strike, and overall feeling quite dumb and like time can't move fast enough. As we finally reach the end, the instructor leads us to Savasana, and she sits up. It was such a pleasure to accompany you on this journey today. Namaste. She does little prayer hands and a bow of her head, mostly in sync. The rest of the women imitate and gesture and say namaste. I look around and shake my head. Yeah, namaste away from me. So that is my first yoga experience, XD. So yes, I started doing yoga, and no, sorry to disappoint, but I am not demon-possessed. Stares at a certain someone he knows, XD. I get that some of you are probably like, hold up, Alex, yoga is mega sketch, but as far as I'm concerned, it's in the same category as D&D. So sure, it could be demonic, but it's all about the intention you bring to it. And lol, I don't intend demonic worship. Lol. However, happy to have a convo about it if you feel quite strongly. And I don't have a strong opinion here, so if you have a big brain that I haven't thought of, I'm all ears. But yeah, during the first yoga session, I walked away being kind of weirded out. But as I've done more, I've gotten more accustomed to it. And in general, I've enjoyed it. It turns out my big, nice gym offers the first classes for free. So I figured I might as well take advantage of the opportunity while I have it. Hence, I've been timing my workouts as of late, such that I finished just as a yoga session is starting. And not gonna lie, it's pretty relaxing to go from a hard run to a yoga session. I'm not sure. I'm also biased because of the endorphins and all, but still, it can be very nice. Also, I am so not flexible. Like, lol, we already knew that, but actually so not flexible. Anyway, that was tolerable. XD. Also, the yoga instructor talked to me? No, that's not accurate. Let me rephrase. The yoga instructor talked at me for like 10 minutes at the end, and it took me ages to escape. But I finally did. I think just seeing a young male in her class was quite disorienting for her, because, lol, I'm the only young guy I've seen in any of the classes thus far. Once I got home, I did Fuaname, drove with Emerson and Katie, got mochi, as well as this picture of Emerson looking way too sassy. Went to the dentist where they were like, yep, you have teeth. And I was like, frost and chill, bless the Lord. Huh? Okay. I then, as in detailed in this email's intro, proceeded to chip my freshly cleaned tooth on my window of all things. Yeah, it makes as little sense to me as it does to you, XD. So yeah, that was fun. After that, I worked out with Emerson and Katie, and by worked out with, I mean we went to the gym at the same time, and they walked on treadmills while I worked out. But it was still good to get a workout in. Thereafter, we bought a bag of oranges for Rowan and had an awkward conversation with him, which was good. Then Emerson and I had a really good conversation, probably one of the best yet, before I journeyed to Monday night where Brawl was played, Magic engaged in, and then I returned home to eat pills and sleep. Tuesday was IVC once more. I read for most of it, but Corey joined me for a part in the middle, where we had a great talk. I was there for like 8 hours in total, lol, like a full workday, XD. Once I got home, I did PhoTube with Dad, started reading a new book, journaled some, and then went to sleep. Wednesday, I met with Morgan. We got some coffee at Lima and caught up for like 3 hours. I then called the sound clinic in Denver, which was mostly useless. I proceeded to read, then work out, then do yoga, then PhoTube before calling Katie while playing some Minecraft, which was good. ENTJ females are the bomb. We did that for about 3 hours, and lol, I forgot how much I love Minecraft. After that, I read some and then slept. The next morning, I was scheduled for IVC, but my urine was blood red, and I was like, this seems concerning. Hence, I skipped IVC and got my blood tested instead. I thought it was because of the artemisinin, which can cause blood cell breakdown, but my blood test later came back and everything was fine, so I still don't actually know what caused that. But regardless, at this point, I didn't know I was not dying. Hence, I instead drove out to a coffee shop in Windsor to hang with Karina and do some study on my exercise book. Sydney and Neo's mom joined us later on, but Karina and I left not long after. Karina needed me to give her a ride because her car was in the shop, so I obliged. When I got home, I did PhoTube, read some, stalled for a hot sec, then drove to the Myers where Noah, Johanna, and I all went for a drive, and that was big good, absolutely excellent. Once I got home, I ate mochi, read some, and then slept. The next morning, I got my blood work results back and was relieved to find out that I was fine. In fact, more than fine. As far as my labs are concerned, my health is ideal, as healthy as I could possibly be. So that was encouraging in the moment, even though apparently it didn't matter, puffs out smoke. If there is a patron saint of cancer, I need his number, because typical prayers don't seem to be reaching the big boss. Anyway, I was momentarily relieved and happy. I worked out, did a yoga session, hung out with Dad, got food, and talked. 'Twas not bad. We also played some ping pong. Once I got back home, I read some, did pills while listening to podcasts, read some more, did fuanime, and then attended swing dancing as Nessa's surrogate boyfriend. How did this come about, you might ask? Well, conveniently, the story is remarkably short. After not hearing from the man in literal weeks, I receive on my phone, "I'm appointing you Nessa's surrogate boyfriend for tonight." To which I was like, understood. So the deed was done. XD. Apparently, I was a trash surrogate boyfriend. Nessa rated me a 3 out of 10. But that doesn't matter. What matters is that I was a surrogate boyfriend. All you taken ladies, if you ever need a stand-in boyfriend, I got you. I have prior work experience. XD. So yeah, anyway, I did swing dancing. It was basically just normal swing dancing, with the exception of the fact that I was sparsely populated. I mostly just did a lot of socializing. Once I got back, I watched some YouTube videos on how AGI will kill us all and went peacefully to sleep. Saturday, I had IVC, as usual. I did a lot of reading in those 8 hours, then drove to Alan and Jesse's house to talk about MBTI stuff. And that lasted for 4.5 hours. It was immensely good, as per usual. Once I got home, I took notes on our conversation and then sent those over before doing a moment of fuanime and slept. The next morning, my body felt weak, so I slept in. However, I did make it to Noah's for magic at 1, played for like an hour, and then whisked myself away to go pick up John from the airport. Upon acquiring his jolly figure, I then spoke with him about many things, mostly his quickly escalating relationship, until I dropped him off at his house. It's pretty likely the man will be moving not too long from now, which is a touch sad, but he's got a really good gig going for him, so I can't blame him. Anyway, as soon as I dropped him off, I went straight to hanging with Emerson and Katie, and I was super hungry, because, lol, I hadn't eaten yet that day, and it was 6 p.m. Hence, we drove to In-N-Out, per Emerson's request, and got food. In-N-Out isn't honestly that bad. Like, it's not great, but it does have pretty good burgers for the price. So, yes, I consumed 2 double-doubles and a fry. We drove back and went to an Alley Cat with the pretense of being productive. But in reality, this was never to be. Instead, we just took turns reading the story of Pinocchio, of all things, and it was actually hilarious. XD, you have no clue how whack that story is. Genuinely, all N-E. Nessa joined us for the later half of that activity, and I believe had a good time. Then, because I was surrounded by 3 feeling women, my emotional battery ran out, and I just died in a corner chair at home until it was time to drop Katie off, which I did. We had a decent convo in the process therein. Then, once I got back home, I took all the necessary pills and let my consciousness lapse. The next morning, I worked out, did fuanime, then did baby car maintenance before driving to Naomi's house, wherein we did much cooking. See, as successful graduate of Karina's cooking class, I have now come under the tutelage of the older and simultaneously greater sister when it comes to the art of the dish. However, I am told I will not become the true master until I should experience the tutelage of April herself. I aspire to reach such heights. But yes, I cooked with Naomi for a while, learned a thing or two, and made some genuinely good food. I really liked the muffins in particular and ate all of my portions promptly. XD. In the downtime, while things were being baked or stewed or whatever it's called, I interpreted Naomi's nutrition genome test results, for which took somewhere between an hour to an hour and a half. I think she found it useful. And that was cooking with Naomi. Overall, a wildly successful experience. However, since there was an hour before Monday night started and I was already close to Joe's house, I decided it didn't make sense to drive back home. Since Naomi and Cameron let me chill in their basement theater room, cause lol, they have one of those, for the hour till it was time to go. Originally, I started watching something, but it was during that time that I received an urgent message from Katie, and hence instead we called and talked through some stuff. Shortly thereafter, Alan called to vent about the topic I had just happened to discuss with Katie moments earlier, so I was on the phone for a good hour until I reached Joe's house and engaged in the typical Monday night shenanigans. Once I got home from that, I took all the pills and began 3D printing some slugs for a purpose yet to be revealed. I had IVC again the next day, during which I read, as always, but also called with Sayla for the first time in ages. It was actually such a good conversation, genuinely great. I then read more, got home, did Fuaname, hung out with Emerson, and then was pseudo-productive with Katie and Emerson, of which here is a picture. However, Emerson's TE died halfway in, so we ended up going home early and not being productive, which was sad. I then did pills, read some, and slept. The next day, I went to the gym to try to learn how to squat and deadlift, because apparently those are just god-tier exercises. But it turns out getting the form right on those is immensely hard, XD. I think I kind of got the squat down, but the deadlift, heck no. I'm going to need to get a personal trainer or something if I want to learn how to do that safely. I then ran, got home, did Fuaname, read, did YouTube, did lame yoga with mom, lame per the yoga instructor, not my mom, XD. It was then at this point something crazy happened. Namely, the Wades, our second cousins, sent me and the other grandkids a proposal where they pay us to become financially responsible. And we're not talking a little payment, we're talking a lot. $10,000 in total. So yeah, that was crazy and epic. Since I'm dying and also still living at home, they're still figuring out what benchmarks I'll have to meet to get that full amount. But for now, they've already given me $1,000 just for having more than $1,000 in savings over the next 3 months, which, lol, I already did naturally. So yeah, that was epic. Pretty crazy scenario, not gonna lie, but lol, the odds that money doesn't go to medical things at the end of the day seems kind of low, so probably shouldn't be rejoicing too early, but still very exciting. After being yeah, count me in, I then did CAD work while listening to the Dave Ramsey video they asked me to watch. See, I'm making this vine bookshelf where basically I make a vine comb in and out of my wall and I can put books on it. I think it's kind of fun, but you'll need to tell me what you think once it's done. Also, I thought this up because, lol, I now own way too many books and my bookshelf can't handle them, so I need more space. XD. Regardless, I rounded out my day by reading some more, journaling, and then sleeping. IVC was the next day, basically in its entirety. Read my exercise book, actually the whole time, which given the whole time is the length of a work day, meant I made it pretty far. I then stopped by home, ate some stuff, and then journeyed to the Myers to meet up with Nessa, wherein we purchases the necessary supplies for our dastardly deeds, aka trashing Benj's car before his return, XD. But first, a picture of the Myers girls, being the Myers girls. Upon acquiring the goods, we then did this. Pictures courtesy of Nessa. It was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Okay. See those 3D printed starfish and slugs? Hee hee, those were my contributions. I wish the slugs had worked out a bit better, but oh well. So yeah, Nessa came up with the idea, and then me, Johanna, Karina executed it. Lily and Seth helped a bit, and 'twas beautiful. Once we finished that, my night ended, as many do, reading, journaling, and then sleeping. The next morning, I met Toby, Rutgers guy, if you remember him from way back, at Noodles, and we had a great conversation, actually. I forgot how much I liked talking to that guy. Very smart. We talked for about 2.5 hours before I then whisked myself away to the Myers house, once more to inform April and Karina about all the things relating to their DNA test results. That was exhausting. It took 2 hours. Thereafter, I drove April to pick up her car because it was on the way home, worked out with Anne, of all people, which I actually enjoyed quite a bit, and then me and her talked for a few hours, and that was definitely the best convo we've had yet. I then did pills, read, did more pills, and then slept. The next morning, I slept in and then listened to something Sydney sent me, and oh my gosh, I have to share this because it's epic. Lol, that's a pun, you just don't get it yet, XD. Sydney showed me this playlist, and originally I was like, cool, but then I started listening to it, and holy cow. So basically you have to listen to it in order, and it tells the whole tale of Odysseus, but in musical format. It's like Hamilton, but honestly better. I enjoyed it substantially more. Even though it's just audio, it's so well done, actually amazing. You all have to listen to a song or two. Such powerful storytelling. Actually listening to this, genuinely 9 out of 10 experience. Exceptional is an applicable word to describe it. Smiley face. So yeah, listen to that as I shoveled snow and then did pills and vials. It made the whole process quite enjoyable. Thereafter, Nessa came over to help me deburr the Pokemon chess set I printed for Benj. However, that turned out to be so much harder than we anticipated, and we spent like 2 hours and did a so-so job, XD. As we were doing that, we agreed it would be fun to watch an anime in the background, and Nessa said she was feeling like a comedy. So I put on Science Fell in Love, so I tried to prove it. And oh my gosh, I forgot how funny that anime is. I also remember it getting a bit sketch in the second season, so I dropped it, but man, I forgot how good the first season was. Lol, genuinely great. A staple for nerds everywhere. Also, Katie, you and Sam have to watch this. This is mandatory. So anyway, we deburred Prince, watching a fantastic anime. Then we both went to Micah's house for his impromptu movie night, which was not bad. I got to nerd out with Jules about anime, so that was enjoyable, plus she made good cookies. The worst part, though, was that Micah beat me at Brawl. I begrudgingly admit that he's better than me, but only just. He was not on his last stock and in orange or yellow when I lost both times, so it was close. But nevertheless, he's more proficient than I, so yeah, good night. Not peak, but certainly not bad. Once I got home, I worked on my 3D printed vine, did pills, and slept. Church the next morning consisted of Jake and I doing a cold walk. 'Twas a very good conversation. The man has been growing in some cool ways, and I'm stoked to see his new look. He described it to me, and man, it's gonna be epic. I then played some Magic with Joe before going over to Neo and Sydney's, where trading some of the MTG occurred, followed by a game. I then came home and started hanging out with Katie, only for it to end abruptly when she was summoned home by her father due to the weather. So yeah, that was lame. But I did get to watch a bit of the anime while eating good food, so not a total bust of an evening. Then after that, I attended the first of the Wade's money meetings, a necessary prerequisite to the massive payout aforementioned. Took pills, did a touch of CAD work, and then officially began my getting buff quest, which may not amount to anything given the state of affairs with cancer, but we're still going to try. The next day began with hanging with David. We chilled in the rain tree hot tub and chatted. 'Twas Then I did Fuanime and heard all the New Zealand tales from Benj and Bend over at Ben's house. That was interesting. Then I stalled for a small amount of time, attended Monday night, did some CAD work upon getting home, and watched some anime because I was nervous for the upcoming PET scan. Then I had that PET scan. I got so close to fainting when they put the radioactive stuff in me. Not entirely sure why, but I think it had to do with the stress and my low blood sugar day of, which was at 66. But yeah, almost passed out. Was definitely a weird experience, but I made it through. Also, during the waiting time, I finished the book I was on, so that was nice. Once I got home, I worked on this life update, then went to work, then finally looked at my results, only to be severely disappointed. This time super sucked, because I seemed to be doing so well, and then it just went terribly wrong. So yeah, that was super unfortunate, and I got very sad and proceeded to eat my last round of mochi for a while, since I'm hopping back on a rigorous diet. But yeah, I told the fam, wrote the email that went out to all of you, and then went on a drive. I ended my night by distracting myself with a good anime. The next morning, I was definitely still feeling it, but as time gone on, I've gotten more and more bad news, and I've become desensitized to a degree. Thus, I was able to functionally recover by the morning. I attended my first class of the semester, which is going to be apparel design, aka fashion, but the instructor super sucked, and there were group projects, so I was like, yeet, and lol, I'm not going back, XD. Once I got home, I did many small things. I called Dr. Adrian and told her about my results, and she told me which drugs to drop, because they would interfere with BV. I then constructed my new, and for the first time in my cancer history, simpler pill boxes. I have to get rid of like half of my supplements due to the chemo, so lol, we'll see how this goes. I then worked out, and Morgan proceeded to join me for the yoga I did thereafter. It was a good yoga session. I then ate food, journaled, and slept. Yesterday, I was basically back to normal. However, I did get really bad sleep, as I stayed up for 4 hours thinking about how to go out with a bang if cancer is what ends up killing me. I realized between all my credit cards, I have like $45,000 worth of credit. So if I am going to die, you better bet I'm going to spend that on some epic experience. To be fair, most of my thoughts were way out there, like dying trying to break into the White House, XD. But I think going on a massive spending spree is pretty realistic. So yeah, got bad sleep, drove to Boulder, and met with my oncologist down there. Drove back, napped for 3 hours, cause lol, sleep deprivation. Went to work, went on a run, ate, and then joined Liam for the biannual Anime Club anime opening quiz. Out of the 26 participants, we got 7th this time around, but given that there was only a 5-question difference from our score and the first place score, that was actually super close. So yeah, we did quite well. Once I got home, I ate, read, and then slept. And finally, as for today, I did quiet time in the morning for an hour and then went to work where I applied for cancer scholarships and then did this. And that's it. Consider yourself big updated.